And it really doesn't hit you until, we stay in a hotel in Kansas City the night before a game, so the, all the
You drive in,
all the
right?
hype doesn't really hit you until you like a block away from the stadium. Everyone's tailgating and you're looking around and everyone's flooding the streets and everything. I think it'll be sustained success here for the next years to come.
Dad used to tell me all the time. Used to tell me all the time. Son, don't worry about the mules, just load the wagon.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Jayhawks Unplugged here with Chris Tehan. I'm with my guest, probably the most popular walk-on in Kansas history, recent Kansas history for sure. Football player, having a great year this year, Jared Casey. Jared, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Jared, you're from Plainville, Kansas. You grew up in a big family. As you were growing up, what role did growing up in a big family play on your life? I know I have I have three brothers and one sister, and you have six siblings, four sisters and two brothers. Was it a competitive household, or how was it?
Yeah, literally everything that we did growing up was together. So we'd play sports together. Obviously, I was the youngest of the seven, so I got picked on quite a bit. But yeah, I mainly hung out with my two brothers growing up, football, basketball, baseball. I did track in high school. Literally any sport that you can think of, we were doing it. So it was really competitive. We all had a lot of fun doing it, and we're still really close now, which makes it even cooler. So yeah, it was a pretty competitive household growing up.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I was not the youngest, but my older sibling was like 10 years older than me, so he beat up on me all the time. It really made me a lot tougher, but I can see how that you definitely got picked on a lot there. But you said that you're you played every sport. And when I was doing my research on this, I saw that in high school you're actually a three-sport athlete. You obviously football was your main sport. You were 3 years all-state or 3 years all-conference, and then basketball was when I actually looked at 1,500 points, two-time all-state, two-time player of the year nominee. Wild! I didn't know that. So just talking high school, I mean, you're a jack of all. You're not even really focusing on a sport at this point. You're just kind of picking up whatever. How was your experience playing?
Yeah, it basically all started in, like I said, when I was a lot younger. I give credit to all my siblings because I learned a lot of skills from them growing up. But yeah, a lot of people don't know that I played basketball in high school and I was actually pretty decent at it. So I mean, you may not look at me and be like, hey, he's a basketball player, but I really did like basketball. It's my second favorite sport for sure. But going back to like what I said, just growing up playing all these sports really helped me to gain a lot of skills that obviously I can contribute to football, which ended up being obviously my favorite sport of everything. But yeah, I like to basically just be busy all the time. It wasn't fun just sitting around the house, like I would play Xbox or whatever here and there, but I always wanted to be outside playing football, playing basketball. So yeah, it led to what I am today.
Yeah. So what position you played? Were you like an undersized 3 or 4, or what? Like, what were you? Stuck you down on the block?
So I basically played 1 through 4.
Yeah.
I literally I played everything. I was from a small town, so we didn't have the 6'9" centers and the 6'5" small forwards. So I mean, it was pretty easy for me to be able to play like 1 through 4. So.
Yep. So from Plainville, population around 1,700 people. I mean, that's a small town. I've grown up in a little bit in a very small area. So I'm sure that coming to Kansas was like a culture shock. How much was it adjusting to going from a place with 1,700 people to, I don't know the population of Lawrence, but I just know it's more than 1,700. How was your first couple of months? Did you enjoy it? Was it the first time like really living in like a big hub? So how was that?
Yeah, it was a pretty big change, honestly, right away. Like you said, 1,700 people to however, I don't know how many that is, but yeah, it's traffic is obviously a lot busier than Plainville is. And when I first came here, my first year was COVID, so there wasn't a whole lot of people on campus at the time. So I guess that kind of helped me like transfer from Plainville to Lawrence because I mean, like I said, there wasn't a ton of people here, but I think being on the football team really helped me. I guess like come from a small town to a bigger place because I grew into a lot of relationships. It was easier for me to be able to, hang around people because I mean, obviously I had a bunch of friends in Plainville, so like it wasn't like a major change, but it was definitely a step up.
Yeah, I'm sure. Were you a Kansas fan growing up, or were you just? I mean, I know a lot of places in rural Kansas. They're Nebraska fans, K-State fans. Were you guys a Kansas family through and through?
Yeah, my whole family was a KU family. We have been basically my whole life. A lot of people don't know that my brothers and I like Nebraska football growing up. So I was a Nebraska football fan for a while, I guess. But our whole family, my sister came here. I mean, my oldest sister came to KU. My brother played football here for 1 year. And so, yeah, we enjoyed KU and liked KU basically my whole life.
Yeah. So running back in high school, obviously recruited here as a fullback. When did they bring up the idea of you playing tight end? And were you just like, oh, all right? Or did you ever really think about it coming into college? How did that transition really go?
Oh, yeah. So my junior year of high school is when I came on a visit here. And that was when Coach Miles was here. And I was coming here to play linebacker initially. And I came on a visit and he was talking to me. And basically he was like, we kind of are interested in you playing fullback. And I was like, well, it kind of makes sense. I play running back right now. So, I mean, I can block pretty well. So it makes sense. And then, obviously, I came here and started playing fullback. And then that staff obviously left. And the new staff, it wasn't really like a fullback type guy, I guess, in the offense. So I basically got put in the role of a tight end. And I was pretty low on the depth chart to start with, but I knew that was gonna like happen because, I mean, I'm like barely 6 foot, so you don't really see 6 foot tight ends across the country. But yeah, it was a little bit of a change. Obviously, playing running back in high school, fullback, and then now I'm basically still fullback and tight end, but my coach gets mad when I say I'm a fullback, so I guess I am just a tight end. So it's not too much different than just the name in the position.
Yeah, for sure. You do a ton of blocking. I've been watching the games lately, or been watching them all year this year, and you do a ton of blocking. But to walk us through last year, I mean, obviously you played in 9 out of 11 games last year. But really, when you came onto the scene, obviously, is the Texas 2-point conversion. I know. I mean, everyone knows you for that, and you'll be remembered forever for that. That was such a dope moment. I was in Lawrence. They were trying to break in the stadium and tear the goalposts down. So how was that? I mean, you really exploded. Like you had 100 and I think it was like 101 receiving yards last year. You had like 5 or like 10 in the Texas game. And then 65 in the next game and like another 35 in the game after that. So how was the last part of that season and taking on really a major role?
Yeah, we were pretty banged up in the tight end room, obviously, because, I mean, I came on to the scene in the Texas game, and then we played TCU in West Virginia, and we were banged up in those games. So we didn't really have a lot of depth left. It was kind of me and like another guy. So I really just had to go out there, and I mean, I knew what to do the whole year. I mean, I stayed ready. Basically, that's just what they told me to keep doing. I would just keep asking, what do I need to keep getting better at? What do I need to do to get on the field more? And they said, just wait your time, just wait your time, just wait your time, just stay ready. And obviously, I mean, it happened pretty quickly. I basically took on a starting role in the last couple games, and then. So, yeah, I would just staying ready. And obviously I started watching a lot more film when I started playing. Yeah. That was a major change for me when I started playing a lot more.
Yeah, I'm sure those Thursdays and Fridays, the last 3 weeks of the season, were a lot different than the weeks before. Like, probably an hour or 2 hours more film, like actually getting the nerves.
Yeah, for sure.
But so those last 3 games last year, I think people forget, they talk about the rebuild that we're going through right now, not a rebuild, but just really like a rebirth. The way that we've played this whole year, it really started at that Texas game last year. Those last 3 games, I mean, I think we only won the Texas game, but those were all 3 competitive games. We were scoring points. The way we looked like we were playing competitive. What would you describe as biggest change after that Texas game?
I wouldn't really say it's like a change, but I guess the belief in what we were doing, it finally showed up. We were in a lot of close games last year, and we weren't in games last year, so it kind of showed up, and it didn't show up on the scoreboard at the same time. And at Texas, it finally kind of just showed up from us winning. I would say that. Like you said, we played competitive against TCU and West Virginia. We lost both of them. I think we lost by 3 against TCU and 6 against West Virginia. But I wouldn't say it was a major change. I would say just staying to the course, doing what they're telling us to do and not getting discouraged at losing, because it's going to show up eventually. And it has shown up at the start of this year as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I forget that Lance came in last year. It pretty much was after spring, or 2 years ago after spring ball.
Yep.
And so I'm sure that obviously you guys have him coming in. I'm not going to say that you guys were like this, but it could have been like, wow, dog, like he's trying to sit there. And I know he's a disciplined guy. Right. I'm sure it was hard for a lot of people to get on board with that after being in the Les Miles in year, which I'm sure was just like, he's a player's coach, just kind of lets you guys do whatever, get the talent in the door. A lot of people probably had a coming to Jesus moment almost. Would you say that was kind of the consensus?
Yeah. It was just a lot more, like you said, a lot more disciplinary action, that you basically, like, this is what they laid out, what they were going to do, and they just stuck to the plan ever since they got here. It's just a lot more like organized, I guess. We know like exactly what the standard is, and we're going to follow it. And if you don't follow it, then they're going to see that. Yeah. So and they're going to know when you're not following it. So yeah, this was a lot more organized and a lot more disciplined with Coach Leipold.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the culture though that a lot of those teams have, and it obviously is working for us. This obviously is his first full year this year, and what you guys are doing now is ridiculous. And watching the way you guys compete, the way I feel like it's player led, and it's not even like vocally player led. You just have those guys like Kenny Logan, Jalen Daniels, Earl Bostic, Devin Neal, like all these guys are just going out there and pretty much 110%, and that's contagious. And that's something that I've noticed as a fan lately. That is just really, I feel like, taken us, kind of put us in a position we've been in. How much do you attribute to being player-led by where they're like, okay, we're so tired of hearing the coaches discipline us that we're going to take it on our own shoulders and kind of go?
Yeah, they basically, like I said, they said that they were going to put a plan in place for us. And they said for us to become how we're like becoming right now, it can't be them. There have to be player-led meetings, player-led walkthroughs, like all the stuff behind the scenes need to be player-led. Like the coaches can't control everything, and the players know that. So everyone contributes to knowing that, like the coaches can't tell you everything. And like you're gonna have to take constructive criticism from another player, and sometimes that is hard to hear. Like even say like a sophomore or freshman correcting a senior. Like you don't ever really hear that, but it's hard to hear and it needs to be said. So leaders need to lead and followers need to follow, and that's something that we've gone by. And like you said, all those names, those are great leaders for our team, and they lead by not only their words but their actions, and they set an example for how the rest of the team is supposed to follow.
Yeah, and I honestly see a lot of similarities between the way that Coach Leipold coaches and Coach Self coaches, and that's what the sign a good team is. I played at Kansas for 5 years, and our 3 best teams it was like that. I mean, Coach Self would obviously jump you a little bit, and he would jump you a good amount of the time. But then you would hear a chirp from somebody, like you would hear Ochai go after a Devon or somebody like that, or Devon go after a Doak. And those, when people started being able to take that like water off their back and kind of like sitting there looking, that's when you have those teams that your back's against the wall in the fourth quarter, you're down a touchdown or whatever. Those are the guys you want there, because you know they're going as hard as they can, as they care about you. If they care about you enough to correct you, then obviously they care enough about you to try 110%. I think that I'm seeing that for sure, and it definitely it looks similar to what it does on the basketball court for sure.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll switch this over to NIL for a second. I already know what I'm about to ask about. So, okay, I mean, dude, that's got to be wild. That after the Texas game, you get an Applebee's commercial, you get a car. You got a car, right, from Crown?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just what's going through your mind? Like, you were pretty much like, not no offense, but you just were not having the contributing minutes, like probably not really well known, to being probably the most popular guy on campus and really in the state of Kansas for probably about a 3-week run right there. How was that?
Yeah, after that game, it was really hectic that week, especially leading up to the TCU game. I shot the commercial on like Tuesday, I think, of that week for Applebee's. And then I think it was a week or two later when I got the call about the car. And then there was just some other like smaller, like interviews and whatnot. There was a ton of interviews the week after the game. So it was really hectic. It's really, I mean, when I came into college, NIL really wasn't a thing yet. It was in the talks. So I didn't really think about this happening and like happening to me, So it was really crazy. And really, I mean, it was an honor to be able to, obviously be in the right spot to catch the ball at the time. And then to be able to, get the commercial and the car and everything like that. But yeah, it was a really hectic week, and it was also a really cool experience at the same time.
Yeah. What did you get? You got, for the Applebee's commercial, I heard you got like a $1,000 or $1,000 gift card to Applebee's or something like that.
Yeah, I got $1,800 in cash or in money, and then $1,500 in gift cards. So
how long did that take you to spend, or did you just take everybody out, which is like, all right, go run it up?
Well, the money, just the original money, I mean, I was probably gone already, and then the $1,500 in gift cards, I think I took about the whole city of Lawrence out to eat. I'm pretty sure. I think I still have 1 or 2 gift cards left somehow. So it's like they just keep appearing. But yeah, I've taken a lot of people out to eat. The O-line, some of the wide receivers, obviously the tight ends. So I can't use $1,500 in Applebee's on myself. So
I was gonna say, I mean, I love Applebee's. It's just not overly expensive. So it is like you have to be eating it every single day, pretty much 3 meals a day to get that done in a while.
Literally.
That's hilarious. I remember seeing the commercial being like, you always got to go for 2. And I was like, God, that actually works so well.
Yeah, it was something for sure.
How many takes did that take? Was it just a 1 take, or were you sitting there nervous? Because I mean, there's a difference between me interviewing you and going to Applebee's to shoot an Applebee's commercial.
Yeah, it was really, it was nerve-wracking because you walk in there. First of all, I didn't really know what was going to happen when I went in there, because I didn't technically know I was doing like a commercial at the time when I walked in. So I walk in and all these cameras are set up and this lighting, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm pretty sure it ended up taking like 5 hours to like shoot everything. So like all was
that because of you, because you were messing up, or it just took forever logistically?
No, they wanted a bunch of different angles, a bunch of different lines, and like they had my parents come up, because my parents were already in Lawrence, So they had them come be in the commercial. So yeah, it was a long day.
A long day shooting an Applebee's commercial. I mean, if you would have told, I'm sure if you would have told yourself that, like if you went back in the past, so yourself about a year and a half before, you'd be like, what did I do? Like, did I just get an extra acting job or something on the side? That's wild. That's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Mass Strategies has done a ton, just helping you guys with NIL stuff. Do you think that helps? I mean, obviously it helps the program, but do you see this like becoming a major part of recruiting to Kansas? I know the culture is getting better and we're getting our stadium redone, but do you think that will help us more than some of the other things?
Yeah, I think that Mass Strategies is going to eventually grow. Like, it's kind of like not a lot of people really know about it right now, besides like the athletes and the university. But I do think it'll eventually grow to be a really big deal. Like you see, a lot of these colleges already are signing recruits for. They're like, yeah, if you come to us, we have a deal for you from like say a car company or a business in the city. So I do think NIL will play a pretty big role in recruiting in the near future.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I love it. Obviously you guys make a ton of money and stuff like that, but I think it's playing too big of a role in recruiting.
Right.
And like what you guys are seeing now, a lot of your guys who are playing major minutes and major downs and snaps or whatever are seniors or juniors and seniors, people who have a ton of experience. And that, like, I feel like that is how you make good teams, is by building up people through the years. I mean, no offense to Kansas, no offense to really anybody in the Big 12. The only schools that sit there and reload year after year are like a Bama and a Georgia and an Ohio State, because maybe you look at Bama right now, their backup quarterback that I don't know his name, but he's probably a future Heisman winner.
Yeah, he was good.
And the only reason he's not playing is because they have the Heisman winner currently on their team.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's many teams in the country that can do that. But at the same time, I also am like, you have to compete, because otherwise other schools will take away your top guys.
Right.
By just offering them big amount of money. And I don't know how much I'm in love with that thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I think right now it's like, okay, I'm sure there's a lot of deals that people don't know about in the recruiting world, but I think that it'll eventually get to the 6 and 7 figures. Like some people already have like 7-figure deals from recruitments, but I think it will start to be a lot more common and seen, which isn't a great thing. I don't think that's what they had in mind for NIL. But I think it could eventually come out to be that way.
Yeah, I think that in the next 2 or 3 years, they'll start regulating it like pretty heavily, when the balances of power start to like lean towards certain schools who just have endowments and stuff. But yeah. I mean, it's not like, you look at Texas A&M as a good example for me. They have the number one recruiting class. I'm sure they threw out so much money through boosters and all that stuff, and their team just doesn't play together.
Yeah, I see that, and that's one of the things that would probably go with it. They just want the top guys in the nation, which obviously, like a lot of people say, I mean, stars and whatever rankings do, like they do have matter in college football, but if they're like a cancer to the team, like
too many players on the field,
right?
To just have one guy. I'm sure those guys will go on and be crazy athletic and NFL freaks or whatever, but yeah, you don't have a team that plays together, then you can get beat by everybody.
Exactly. Yeah,
I feel like we show a good amount of that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird. It's like weird to talk about, It's like, where's the middle ground of a really good player and a really good team player? So.
And you guys have a ton of those. I mean, you guys pretty much are just a team. You guys work well. The way you guys run your offense and stuff, you guys could beat everybody in the Big 12 any day of any week.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Big 12 right now. It's just like, you never know what you're going to get week in and week out. So I really think like the Big 12 as a whole is like a team. I don't really think it's sticking out as good players taking over. Like, I don't think that's how the Big 12 is, which, I mean, you never know. There could be things going on with teams that you don't see on the field, but I can speak for us. I feel like we're playing pretty well as a team overall. So,
yeah, and let's talk about the last 2 weeks. This will probably air after the Baylor game, so I don't want to talk about next week's matchup. But you have your last 2 weeks, obviously TCU and Oklahoma. Those are hard games. Jalen goes down against TCU. Beam comes in and plays great. But both those games, regardless of what people want to say, TCU game was one of the best college football games I've watched in a very long time, especially coming from Kansas. That was a ton of fun. But there's just one or two plays that separate really both those games.
Yeah. The first against TCU, that was a lot of fun. Obviously with game day in town and everything, all of the hype and everything. But like you said, it's just like the small details of certain plays that obviously cost us the penalties. Penalties cost us in the game, and we'd been fortunate up until that point. We still had some penalties, but we'd been fortunate enough to win the first 5. And then, like last week, OU caught fire. We played a pretty, it didn't look great. We didn't play as terrible as people perceive it to be. I mean, obviously Oklahoma got beat 49-0 the week before, but they came out firing, and it is like they caught fire against us. So we just needed to be ready to play, and we weren't. So I mean, what we did, all you can do is just move on. So that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people also we're rebuilding. We're rebuilding.
Right.
We just came off a year where we won 2 games last year,
Yeah.
and then before then, about 5 in the 8 years before then. And we're going 5-0, and everyone's expecting us to go to the college playoff. It's like, no, hey, we have a great team. You guys are playing fantastic. But this is not a shot at Kansas football, but like it's not. If we made it to the college football playoff, then I mean, obviously we're great, and you guys blew every expectation out of the water. But it is. I feel like if fans, now that you guys are winning, they just expect you guys to continue to do it. Has that changed the morale in the locker room at all, or do people understand? It's like they just kind of know, hey, that's their opinion. They can go do that. We're just focusing on getting better and becoming the best team that we can be.
Yeah, it really hasn't changed the locker room that much. People, when we lost last season, like it was like we gained a bunch of fans after the Texas game. And so, we know that it's going to be up and down with fans. When we're doing really good, they're like, rah, rah, go KU, and we're not. They'd be like, wow, KU is not good. So we know that that's how it goes. That's how life goes. So we just kind of keep it inside the locker room. We believe in ourselves and the coaching staff, and we know what we have to offer, and we know that we still haven't played our best football yet. So there's a lot of things people haven't seen yet. So we know how to handle that.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Kansas fans to death, and I'm not saying they're like too critical or whatever, but they are they're very emotional.
Oh yeah,
you guys are playing good. It's like, oh my God, we're the best team that's ever stepped on the field or like ever stepped on the court, whatever. And then as soon as you lose, like, God, we're back. We're just like whatever. I mean, we saw it all the time with basketball. We'd lose a game, and they'd be like, this is the worst team Coach Self's had in however long. It's like I've been on 5 of KU's worst teams then, I guess, at this point, like after every game we lose. Exactly. And that's a newfound thing for you guys, because you guys have been getting so hot that the passion and everything's come back completely.
Yeah. I mean, it took I wouldn't say that it took for us to win like that, for everyone to start really believing. But last year at the end of the year did give us a lot of confidence coming into this year, knowing what we could do, knowing what we had on the team. And like you said, KU fans, all fans in college, NFL, are really emotional. Like you said, you're doing good, they're going to be with you. And when you're doing bad, they're gonna talk bad about you. And
but they're still with you. That was the thing. Like they're still with you. And they're just like they're on the edge. Like they're sitting there, like freaking out, and you guys are all in the locker room being like, "Dang! Like if we would have made this play and this play, we would have won. Like we didn't play bad." And they're sitting there overthinking it.
Yeah, you can tell they don't watch the film for sure. So that's one thing they don't do.
Yeah, we dealt with that a lot, and I was thinking about that like coming into this. I was like, God, yeah, they probably do now. Like they're looking on Twitter and stuff, and they're seeing all these guys being like, "Dude, we can easily go 9-0, 10-0," and you're just like, "Shit." I hope so, but at the same time, I don't know how likely that is.
Right.
But staying on the fans, so this year has been obviously completely different, but the stadium, Memorial Stadium, has been pretty much packed every week. I mean, Tennessee Tech was obviously not the most packed game, but that's an FCS opponent that just really wasn't very good. You guys noticed difference for sure. How much does that play into the way you guys play at home? Because I think we're undefeated at home, obviously, but we played very well there.
Yeah, it's really crazy, hearing 47,000 people compared to 25 or 30,000, it makes a huge difference. And running out of the tunnel, you look over. I used to look over, and half the side of the stadium was empty, and now it's like filled all the way to the top. You see the Instagram post sold out for the third time straight. It's pretty crazy. So it really doesn't hit you until we stay in a hotel in Kansas City the night before a game, so all the hype doesn't really hit you until you like a block away from the stadium. Everyone's tailgating and you're looking around and everyone's flooding the streets and everything. So yeah, it's really cool. It definitely does help us. So hopefully we can keep doing good enough for them to keep coming back and filling up the stands. So
yeah, I think you guys have done enough. And just by like we've lost obviously the last two, but the way you guys have played is enough for Kansas fans in general.
Right.
You guys score, you guys play well, competitive, you guys all sit there and give it your all. You've gained the respect of, a million fans probably from the University of Kansas that are going to back you regardless of what happens. And they're a huge basketball school, and we always say we have the best fans in America. We're the same school, so those fans are now coming down to you guys. So you guys just have this crazy rocking fan base. And I'm sure that coming into a stadium that's like half full, you love football, so you're excited to play the game. But coming in with that 47,000, which is just a ton of people, it definitely probably gives you that boost to get that spark underneath your butt and be like, okay, yeah, let's go, let's fire up.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's like kind of gives you the chills running out a couple minutes before the game. You don't really think about it, and you can definitely tell on third downs, right? It's crazy in there. Yeah, especially like the Iowa State game was really loud. Obviously really close. Even TCU, it was rocking in there. So yeah, it was really crazy. And it's just like, it's really something you dream of, like when you first got there, or when I first got there. Like I said, it was not very full, especially playing during the COVID season. There was nobody there.
Yeah. So
it's definitely a big advantage for us when we play at home.
Yeah, for sure. Talk about college game day too. Did you guys watch that before? I remember when we would play, they obviously had the stuff all day. You had an 11 a.m. kickoff, so probably a little bit harder to watch, but we would try not to watch it that much. Did you guys all watch college game day as it went on?
We really didn't have any time. We got up at 6:30 the day of the game, ate breakfast, did a walkthrough, and we were on our way to the stadium. So, I mean, there was nothing for us to watch it on, I guess. So that was probably pretty intentional, and it was probably a good thing, to kind of keep the distraction away of college game day being there for the game being at 11. So that was also helpful. But I didn't really see any of college game day until we got there and saw the stage and everything like that. So
you did. You should rewatch it. It was. Being for me, I've never. Obviously, that's the first time we've had it in a very long time, if ever. That was such a fun experience. You should go back. I mean, after the season ends and you want to look back on this year, go watch that. It was pretty legit, and they were saying it's like the best place they've been and all that. So I'm sure you guys obviously feel proud after the game, even though you guys didn't get the outcome you wanted. Just looking at that and looking at the tweets and the videos and stuff after.
Yeah, it was like I saw a bunch of tweets, and I saw stuff from like Reese Davis, Kirk Herbstreit. I saw all of them saying like, "Yeah, this was
Pat McAfee."
Pat McAfee.
He was loving it.
Yeah, some of the team, I think some of my teammates did like watch his live show or whatever on Friday there or whatever. So yeah, I saw all those tweets, and that was really cool. And they said fill the hill, and I looked up there before the game. The hill was pretty full, so that was pretty cool and pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, for sure. So we obviously talked about the leadership and discipline and stuff like that, but how does it feel for you being a Kansas family? Obviously, you said you were Nebraska football fans when you were growing up. How's it when you sit back and look back and pretty much see that you guys have rebuilt this program? Not to where you guys want it to be, but you guys were trending for the first time in a very long time in a right direction strongly. How does that make you feel? Just, are you proud about it? Or are you like surreal, or was that your exact mission on why you came to Kansas?
That was really my expectation and my mission when I first got here. I mean, basically, I know that's pretty easy to like say. I mean, we haven't been to a bowl game in I think 15 years or something like that. So it's pretty easy for all those players to be able to say, yeah, I'm coming here to change it around. And I mean, it's a credit to the coaching staff as well, obviously, Coach Leipold and his staff, because obviously my first year we went 0-9, so that wasn't really expectation in mind when I first came here. But yeah, my mindset was always to come here and change things around, do what I can to help change it around, because I mean that was my number one goal in mind.
Yeah, and I mean a ton of people, a lot of the big recruits that came here, their quote unquote reason why was to turn this program around, and like I said, they never really did it. So now you guys are trending, so people are going to start coming. You guys are. We always say it on the basketball team, you leave this place better than you found it.
Yep.
And that's what you guys are doing. You guys are creating huge potential and upside, and honestly making it easier on the coaching staffs too. And recruiting wise, be like, yeah, we weren't 0-9. We were 6 and whatever last year, 8 and whatever last year. We weren't 0-9. Like we're on the right track.
Yeah, it definitely does help for obviously the future of the program. Seeing that it went from 0-9 to 2-10 to however many games we win this year. We're already at 5, so what's going to stop us, from getting 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. So, I mean, it's going to be a huge help for Coach Leipold and the staff in the very near future. Of big-time recruits. Obviously, we got some pretty good transfers this year. So they do a good job in what they do, and it's obviously going to continue. I think there will be sustained success here for the next years to come.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Obviously, I'd love to hear that. I've been a Kansas fan forever. I was here and going to the games in 08 and 09 and stuff. So that's definitely something that a lot of fans are going to love, and they'll remember you guys forever strictly for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the role you play on the team. obviously this year haven't seen as many targets. I mean, really, you're probably at your target match from last year, just because it was really the last 3 games. But you take on you play a good amount of snaps. You play a great amount of snaps, but a ton of it is blocking. Do you find that as you're being your niche? Like when you have run and blocking situations, that you're usually the one out there hitting the crackdown blocks or going to the second level to the linebackers?
Yeah, that's something I take pride in. Because the coaching staff, the offense coordinator, which is my position coach, he said that in order for me to be able to, get targets, I need to be able to block really well.
Gotta earn them.
So, I obviously want targets. Getting the ball is nice and scoring touchdowns or whatever, but there's no really better feeling than, throwing a downfield block to spring a really long run or whatever. So, it's probably the only thing better is scoring a touchdown. But,
yeah. Like actually being the one to score is nice.
Yeah. But for real, like I said, it's really cool to be able to feel like you play a big part in the run game. That's the dirty work. That's basically what your glorified O-lineman playing a tight end spot. So, the tight ends get to do it all. You get to block, you get to shoot, maybe sometimes run the ball, catch the ball. But, yeah, I like getting out in space and getting on second level defenders and springing big runs for sure.
Yeah, I was happy. That's the one thing I've noticed. I know football a little bit. I know football to a high school standard. This is my first year in a very long time. I've actually been able to sit down and watch games.
Uh-huh.
And obviously me and you are friends, so like I pay attention to you a decent amount. There's a ton of times, and I respect it because it is like, it's grimy. It is what it is. I won't beat around the bush. It's grimy to be an O-lineman, but the respect that you guys have from people who really watch football and understand, the line rarely gets praised, I feel like. And people like you who block a lot rarely gets praised. But as soon as they allow a sack or whatever, they just start getting absolutely torched. And
yeah. Yeah, that's part of the fan emotional part, when we have a really long ball, say like Lawrence Arnold's touchdown, the first touchdown against Oklahoma.
Yeah,
and there wasn't a defender near Jason. So
they were like, great pass by Jason Bean. He sat in the pocket and stayed strong. You're like, yeah, well,
no glory for
our guys just destroyed their D lineman.
Right, and then say one protection breaks down and that blitz gets home on the quarterback, and it's like, oh, well, why can't we pass block, or why can't we do this? And then the next play we'll throw a 40-yard ball, and then it'll be like, oh, great catch, great throw, and then nothing for the O-line. So yeah, it goes back to that fandom, the emotional side of the fans for sure.
Yeah, and I think you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. Pretty much our weakest point over the last 4 or 5 years has been our offensive line. And we made improvements. I mean, I think Earl, I remember having classes with him my freshman year. He came in as a tight end.
He did.
And they put on some weight on that boy. And our line looks big. We used to look small and kind of get bullied around every once in a while. Now I feel like those guys are dedicated, and they earn a lot of respect for turning around this program too.
Yeah, that's one of the major points is we needed to get bigger as a whole entire defense and offense, whole entire team. And our offensive line has done a really good job. I think Earl weighs like 315 or 320 or something like that.
He looks massive.
Yeah. So yeah, that credit to them. Credit to the staff, the nutrition staff for beefing the guys up, beefing everybody up. Really, that's one thing that we made it a goal in mind for us to be able to look like we really belong and play. So.
Yeah. Well, people will find this very interesting. So walk us through like a day of you eating when you have to gain weight. Like say like 10, 15 pounds ago when they're like, oh, we need to beef up. So what are they doing for you guys?
So basically, we go in, everyone has to be in the building by at the latest 6:30 in the morning. So if you really need to eat, there's a thing called breakfast club. and you're late in the building by 5:30 in the morning. So you got to go in.
This is required, right? Like if you get put on to Breakfast Club, you got to be there at 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got to go there. They manage, like, they'll fill your plate basically for you, tell you what you have to eat, tell you, how much to eat, whatever. And then, so then you're done with that. You go to meetings. You probably grab a snack before you go to meetings. Eat it while you're in meetings. Go to practice, and after practice, we have lunch. And they'll do the same thing basically as Breakfast Club, basically fill your plate for you, make you eat. And then I'm pretty sure, I've never been on Breakfast Club, but you have to send them what you're eating for a snack, like 2 hours after lunch. You have to send them what you're eating for dinner, and you have to send them what you're eating 2 hours after dinner for a snack. So you're eating probably like 5 to 6 times, like legit meals a day, and then like 2 to 3 snack times a day.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm sure that makes, like, you can tell the guys at Breakfast Club and who aren't during those like morning sprints in the spring and the summer or whatever. The guy that went and puked all 5 days this week who did the morning run, like, yeah, he's
no, that's a true statement. That's a very true statement.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys do a ton in the morning. We never really did stuff in the morning. And I remember, like, coming out, we ran hills a couple times for basketball during the summer. And you guys would always be getting off of the hill or whatever when we would walk up to it. And I was like, oh, God. Thank God I didn't play football.
Yeah, this stuff likes to get everything in early and be done by a certain time, which, the night before you're trying getting up, like, oh, here's 5:30 that alarm is going to hit quick. But honestly, like right now, our schedule is, like I said, you're late to the building by 6:30, and I'm basically done with football stuff by about noon, 12:15 every day. So you get the rest of the day to, watch film, do your homework, whatever. So it's not as bad as people perceive it to be.
Right answer there on what you do with your free time. Watch film and do homework.
That's about right. That's all I do. I mean, that's all I do.
All right, we only got a couple minutes left, so let me think of something. Okay, so we're bringing Jason Bean into TCU. What do you guys as a team really like sit there and talk about? I think, what do you have? One possession before half?
Yeah, I think it would have been the finish of that possession that Jalen got hurt, and then that would have been it.
Yeah, so
and then a kneel down, I think.
What does Coach say to you guys? I mean, Coach say to you guys in the locker room, obviously Bean's a guy who has a ton of experience. And I'm sure that Lance is just cool, calm, collected, walking in there being like, hey, buddy, you just go do what you know you can do. Is that pretty much the feeling in the locker room?
Yeah, that was basically about it. That's not going to change much for anybody. He gets a ton of reps during the week. He knows how to run the offense. He knows how everything's supposed to go, and obviously that showed. These last couple of weeks, he's done a great job stepping in. But yeah, basically Coach Leipold said, "It's your time, so it's your offense. Go run it."
Yeah.
So that was basically it. It wasn't going to change for the O-line, the tight ends, wide receivers, running backs. We were just going to do the same, and Jason was going to be the quarterback, directing the offense. So,
and it does help a lot that those two are. I mean, Jason may be a little bit faster than Jalen, but I mean, they're both they're dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that's a big help when you have a dual threat quarterback like that, to be able to get out of the pocket and scramble when he needs to and find some open receivers. And I think Jason does a really good job of that, especially getting pressured or whatever, getting out of the pocket and finding the open receiver. So yeah, they're both really competitive. They're both really good at what they do when directing the offense. So there was no really any, we weren't really scared that Jason was going, take over. So,
well, I mean, regardless who starts each week, you guys have the best backup quarterback in the conference, pretty much.
Yeah, they're like I said, they've both been competitive. So, and they they showed that throughout fall camp, throughout spring practice, and obviously it's showing that Jason stayed ready this whole time too. So
Yeah, and I'll have one last thing to talk about with you, and it's the offense. It's your guys' receiving core. I mean, you obviously have you and Fairchild, the other tight end, but your guys' receivers, you have Lawrence Arnold, you have Skinner, and you have Grimm, who really get the majority of the action of most of the targets. Those dudes, I mean, Lawrence Arnold he's a legit man. Like, he's a legit super tall, athletic guy, and Skinner and Grimm, they're kind of guys that really came from underneath the radar. How much time have they put in to get to the spot where they're at? 'Cause they're gritty, grimy guys that just sit there, come in, they run great routes, they make explosive plays, and you just can't, like, you physically cannot keep those guys on the ground.
yeah, that's a credit to them. They basically stayed the course like everyone else. I think Lawrence got some reps his freshman year. Luke didn't get a ton until I think it was the TCU game where he had 2 or 3 touchdowns his freshman year. And then Quentin was basically in the same boat as I was. We kind of, we were on scout team together. We were basically just playing as backups, and that was our role for a while. And then, as you've seen, he's done some incredible things this year for us already. So, they may not be like you wouldn't really think that they're going to be eye-popping wide receivers, but they do the work, and it shows obviously for them to be able to pass and get up or catch the passes and get upfield and score. Like Quentin's one of the fastest dudes I've ever seen. His legs are so long. So,
too.
Yeah, it's I think he ran 22.6 miles per hour on a touchdown this year. So,
yeah,
pretty crazy stuff.
And I'm sure it pisses the defense off a little bit more too when little Luke Grimm's around there just cooking. Those are a couple games this year.
Some of the routes that he runs are how did he just do that? And some of the balls he catches are people say I have good hands, but he catches some stuff. I would be I don't even know. So,
well, and he goes up and makes those catches up in the air. He's a little guy. I mean, he's not little, but he's a smaller guy for playing football. Exposes his whole body. It's he has no thought. It's just I got to catch that ball. I don't care if a train comes and hits me, and he gets hit, absolutely destroyed, hit his head on the ground, and just get up like a robot. All right, I'm running back.
Yeah, he's only about 6 foot, probably 11 and a half, 6 foot, and his vertical is crazy. So that helps him get up and catch the ball over some people. But he doesn't really care if he's going to get hit, and that's a credit to all the wide receivers. They don't really, and hopefully they won't get hurt or anything like that. But they kind of just focus on catching the ball and catching the ball bounce. So.
And especially we're not being overly physically intimidating. I mean, they aren't a CeeDee Lamb or someone like that we've seen go through the Big 12. They get out there and they take their licks and they just get right back up.
Exactly. So that's basically that's just what they're coached to do. And you're gonna get hit either way, so you might as well come down with the ball. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well. Hey, our time's running up here. Appreciate you coming on the podcast. Hopefully we can do this again. Good luck this weekend and good luck the rest of the year. I'm expecting at least 8. I'll let you guys drop those 2 and maybe one more, but I expect at least 8 from you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.